lot, doctor. Couldn't figure that one out. 3 weeks into this, I know how to unmute the mic. Thanks.
All right, 10 seconds.
Okay.
Morning.
All right. Good morning,
Morning.
everybody.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. So,
Great.
our viewers will be coming in shortly, but this is our third week of our virtual speaker series. Allison, I can't believe we're 3 weeks in already. It's pretty crazy when you think about it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to thank 4th District Council member Anthony D'Esposito for joining us today, and our Director of Social Studies in Oceanside, Mitchell Bickman, for kind of being a guest commentator. So we thought it'd be a nice combo to have the two of them on together. So we're excited for today, and just for our viewers out there, just remember you can post a box when you get in here, and if we can highlight it, we'll do that. We'll give you a shout out. We'll have some fun with it. I'm Dr. Gazone, one of the assistant principals at Oceanside High School. I'm with my partner in crime, Dr. Gluckman Rogers, and Mr. Bickman, Councilman D'Esposito. Please, we're going to keep this really informal in the sense that most of us are in our homes. I think, Councilman, you are in your office probably as an essential worker. So, thank you for going to work every day and trying to keep our communities safe. But let's just, we like to keep it on a first name basis here, keep it light, have some fun and stuff of that nature. So, hey, Vincent, thanks for showing up. I know you're here every day. We like to give you a shout out every single time you come on, and we see your brother, Joe. Joe, how we doing, my man? So, Councilman, or Anthony, can you just maybe tell us a little bit about your position, where it kind of fits in the political world, I guess you would say, what it is that you do, maybe who you represent, stuff like that?
Sure. So I guess, the government that we have here in the United States is sort of broken into a few layers, especially on Long Island and Nassau County and the town of Hempstead. There's multiple layers. So it kind of starts on a very local level, which I guess would be your local villages, then goes to the town level, county, state, federal level. But once you kind of get into the town and the state level, the representation of constituents is kind of the same. We represent just about the same amount of people. So in the town of Hempstead, there's 6 council people, each represent a different district, and then there's a supervisor. So there's 7 people on the board, all with an equal vote. It's a little bit different than the county, where there's a legislature that can vote, and then the county executive has veto power over that legislature. The town of Hempstead doesn't have that. We all have equal votes to represent our district. So each council person represents approximately 130 to 145,000 people. The town of Hempstead on a whole has about 780,000 people. We're the largest township in the United States, bigger than I think 4 states at this point. So it's a huge township. We have 25 departments that operate each and every day. We maintain 1,200 miles of roadway. And obviously, we've seen over the last couple of weeks in a situation like this, a lot of people depend on their government to keep them healthy and safe.
That's great. So what would you say is your primary focus or mission or purpose in doing what you do? It's definitely an important position, and we would love to kind of what drives that position.
So I guess in town government, obviously one of the things that's most important is to maintain services at the best cost for the taxpayer. I think, we all agree that here in Nassau County, taxes are always an issue. So in the town of Hempstead, we do our best to maintain the services that we provide and increase those services, all while having a conservative view on the main line. Over the last 2 years, I'm proud to say that we've actually cut taxes in the town of Hempstead. So that's been something that we're very happy with. But really what it comes down to in town government is I think what's most important is making sure that the people that you represent are well taken care of. I really pride myself, and my office works very hard in making ourselves accessible, whether it's through social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I even signed up for a TikTok account the other day, so we're going to see how that goes. But to make myself accessible, all hours of the day, and really deal with constituent issues here. I want to make sure that nothing is, many people call and say, oh, this isn't important, and it could be a stop sign or a pothole filled. All that stuff's important. I was always taught that if someone's calling your office, whatever they're calling about may not be important to everyone else, but to them, it's the most important thing at the time. So I think our goal here is to really make sure that we maintain those services and provide the best possible constituent affairs as we possibly can. And that's whether someone calls this office and maybe it's not something that the town deals with, but we will then serve at that point as their liaison between state government or county government or federal government to make sure that whatever their answer or whatever their concern is gets answered.
So what would you think is the most interesting part of your job? You wake up and you're like, you know what? Can't wait to do this today. I love doing this.
Yeah, so I think, I have to say I have a little bit of a unique situation in that before I became a member of the town board, I was an NYPD detective, and that was another job that, to be honest with you, I loved going to work every day because it was something that every day was different. You got to really take on challenges that you probably wouldn't as being a kid that grew up in Island Park. So I think in government and politics, it's very similar in that no day is very alike. You kind of wake up each and every day with somewhere different to go, different people to meet, and different challenges to face. And I think that I always say whenever I speak to classes or whenever I go and speak to students anywhere, one of the things that I think really prepared me for a career in government and politics was the police department, because in the police department, you worked with people who came from different economic backgrounds, different race, different religions, definitely different political views. And at the end of the day, my life depended on them and their life depended on me. And you really learn the ability to work with others that may not be similar to you. And I think that I take the lessons that I've learned being an NYPD detective, and I bring it to the work that I do here in Hempstead every day.
Besides, sorry, so I didn't know that you were an NYPD detective. That's interesting. Were there, going back as far as elementary school, were you ever in any, kind of any other government positions, like student government, student council? Did you ever have an inkling at a young age that leadership was a strength of yours or an interest?
So I was, I obviously born and raised in Island Park. I went to Haggerty Elementary School, Lincoln Orange Middle School, and then I went to Chaminade High School. Mm-hmm. But I was the president of student council in Lincoln Orange. Oh, okay. And I don't know, my teachers at the time would have said that maybe this was something that was in the future. I never really thought it, but I did serve as president of the student council.
Oh, okay, neat. What other, I guess, can we just continue with that, Paul? So,
go ahead, yeah.
What kind of skills or characteristics did you possess as a student that kind of might have been a hint that this could have been a career opportunity for you? Did your teachers tell you, or did you know in middle school and high school that you had a knack for, leadership, or their skills or characteristics that you possess that allowed you to take on this role and be successful in your career?
I think it certainly depended on the teacher.
Okay, give us from your perspective.
Yeah, no, I think that I always, growing up was one of those people who kind of, tried to find solutions to problems, and really in government, that's kind of, what you do. Yeah, that's what you do each and every day. Even if people don't agree with the solution that you find, you have to, you're basically a problem solver each and every day, whether it's, on a more, global level, that it's a townwide issue, or something very small that could be specific to 3 houses in Oceanside. Whatever it is that you're doing, you're trying to find solutions to problems and trying to get people to come together, to work together. to really make our communities better.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Mr. Bickman, you heard that. Problem solvers. So
Solutionaries is what he would say, right. Mr. Bickman?
Yeah, no, that's something that we focus on in the schools. Councilman Esposito has been in a number of times to talk to our students, and we're always grateful when he comes in and shares his expertise. One of the things that's really interesting for our students right now is that there's always been events that define each generation. So we would say that a lot of us on this call, 9/11 was one of the key events that defined our generation, and possibly the previous generation, maybe our parents, would be that of Vietnam and World War II, going back further. So right now, for a lot of our students, when they look back, this COVID-19 is going to be a defining historical event for them. So a lot of them are journaling right now and creating video accounts of their time and their experiences, and relating this back now to government. Some of our students have expressed interest in, saying more than ever, asking questions like, what is the government doing? What is their role in all this? Are there opportunities, probably not at the moment, but maybe down the road for our students to do any type of job shadowing with you or internships with you? Because that's something that I know they've expressed interest in, and possibly more so now than ever before.
are we frozen?
I don't know. Councilman, can you hear me? I think he might be frozen.
I froze the councilman.
It's really something, Mr. Bickman.
Yeah, it's a good question, Mr. Bickman. So while he's frozen, Mitch, you're a director of social studies. You do a lot of work with history and politics and government. What are some opportunities? Is he back?
I'm here. I heard you guys the whole time.
Okay. So did you hear Mr. Bickman's question?
That I didn't hear. I only heard you.
Okay, good. Mitch, if you could ask again.
Yep, sure. So just I'll skip to the question part. Students more so maybe now than ever before are interested in the government's functions during this time, and maybe have found some interest in looking into government themselves. So is there any opportunities for internships or job shadowing with your office? Not now in immediacy, but possibly down the road.
Absolutely. Anybody that wants to come hang out with me right now, I'll take them. But no, internships, something that I'm always interested in, whether it's, the schools that I've attended or anywhere in my district. If there's anyone interested, there's really here in the town of Hempstead, there's, I kind of run, it's very parallel to like my old world in the police department. There's really a job for anyone. So if anyone's interested in government, and it may not be the administration part of government, it could be another aspect of government, whether it's our controller or our budget director who handles a $600 million budget, or our highway department who maintains 1,200 miles of roadway and makes sure our streets are plowed, or our sanitation department who in this time, we've seen that they're essential, because if we don't pick up garbage every day, this health crisis becomes a public health hazard. So there's so many opportunities, and honestly, anybody listening or anybody, any of your students that would love to be involved here, happy to have them.
That's great.
Out of curiosity, what's the process for these different positions? Whether it's sanitation or maybe a higher level, are there exams, or is it competitive? Is it an open application? Is it dependent just for some students who might be interested in different areas?
So the town of Hempstead operates, we have our own civil service department, which kind of follows the same rules and regulations as the county and the state civil service. So there are many positions throughout the town of Hempstead in many of our departments that are civil service. Once you get to the sort of the administrative portion, which is either directors or commissioners or deputy commissioners, those are appointments by the town board. Very often they are people who have sort of come up the ranks and learned how it is to operate a huge sanitation department, or someone in the parks department who has kind of moved up the ranks and is now, we just appointed a new commissioner who's someone who spent his career in the parks department, and now he leads the parks department workforce, of almost 100 parks. The town of Hempstead has almost 100 parks in our park system. So there are so many opportunities. Our jobs are always listed on our website. But like I said, if a lot of the positions are civil service, which tests are related, there's promotional opportunities that involve tests. And then our upper administration usually falls into appointments by the town board.
Cool. So your path to your seat. Let's talk about it. You went after high school. What happened? Did you go do some schooling? You were in the police force. What was your path to your seat? And is that a similar path? Is that a path that everyone has to follow to get to your seat? Let's talk about that a little bit.
So I think that the path that I took was probably not very similar to most people in government or politics. So like I said, born and raised in Island Park. I went to elementary and middle school in Island Park, and then I went to Chaminade High School. I graduated there in 2000. So I guess for a lot of the elected officials in maybe Nassau and Long Island, I guess I'm on the younger side. After Chaminade, I went to Hofstra University. I graduated there in 2004. And then I worked briefly in the private sector, actually, for a nonprofit doing fundraising. And then in late 2005, I was called to the NYPD, where I went into the police academy. And then I was a promoted detective in 2009. So from 2009 to 2016, I was a detective in Brooklyn in the 73rd Precinct Detective Squad. And then in February of 2016, I was asked to join the town board. So I guess it's a little bit of a different path. I have to say that probably standing a foot post in Brownsville, Brooklyn in 2006, I never thought that 10 years later I'd be sitting as a member of the Hempstead Town Board. So I think it is a little bit different, but I think really what it comes down to is, always, and I encourage anybody that's listening, that get involved in your community. If government and politics is something that you're interested in, getting involved is important. I see Mike D'Ambrosio, Seth Blower on here. There's two people who are really involved in their community, whether it's the Kiwanis or the school board. For me, I was, I served as chief of the fire department from 2009 to 2016, just always involved in my community. And I think that's kind of where it starts. I mean, my parents were involved in the community, whether it's our local church at Sacred Heart. My dad served as deputy mayor in the village of Island Park for, probably 2 decades. So, it's kind of something that I grew up in. But I always say anyone who's interested in government and politics, I think there's like a stigma that you got to go to school, go to law school, and then you can get into politics. And I think that there are so many different routes. And I always say that, getting into government and politics, go to school to whatever makes you happy, whether it's accounting or law or, whatever it is that you want to study. Don't think that you can only study one thing and get into government and politics, because you really can, study what makes you happy. And that's what you should, because government and politics aren't always around forever. So you want to make sure that you have something to lean back on, and something that makes you happy for the rest of your life.
Are there any activities or events, courses that you didn't take advantage of over the years, like high school, college, that you wish you had? Or that
sometimes I wish, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because there's I always think to myself that I wish I would have taken advantage of going away to college. I went to Hofstra and commuted. So that, sometimes I think to myself, I wish I would have went away. But then on the other end, I probably wouldn't have been involved or as involved in my community, especially the fire department. I wouldn't have been able to give the time that I gave to the fire department, and probably wouldn't have, reached the ranks that I've reached if I had gone away. So there, I sometimes wish that I had taken the trip to go away to college.
Mm-hmm. What about in Chaminade? What were you involved in? Any? I know they have a robust program. Anything that you were involved in there that was helpful, or that you weren't involved in that you wish you were?
I guess I liked athletics. I do wish I was on the speech and debate team, because everyone tells me I do like to spar. So I probably could have picked up some tips there. So that's one thing that I wish I was more involved in. And just, I think, overall in the, in the school, I was involved in after school activities, but I think just getting involved in really the global aspect of the school more, I wish I did. And it was something that I really embraced after I left there.
Right.
We
have that at the high school, speech and debate.
We do. We are a nationally ranked Model UN World Interest Club that students can take advantage of that opportunity. Councilman, you spoke a lot about volunteerism and giving back, which you have had a number of different both formal positions and informal volunteerism. Can you talk about some of the organizations or other opportunities that either the town of Hempstead partners with, or that you can recommend that some students can get involved in if they're interested in helping out their respective communities?
Sure. Well, I know tomorrow you have Rob Schulman on, right? Yeah. So that's I actually sit on the board of Limkind. So that's something that I know he's always looking for volunteers, and it's a great organization. But at least on the town level, one of the places that is near and dear to my heart is Camp Anchor. It is a camp down in Lido Beach for special needs kids and adults. And we have hundreds of volunteers there who, some have started there as a volunteer and then eventually start working there. But it's a place that, if you ask anyone who has volunteered there or have worked there, it's a place that's really changed their lives forever. And we also have, for those animal lovers, we have an animal shelter in Wantaw that we're always looking for volunteers, whether it's, individuals who may want to become a vet one day, or a behaviorist, an animal behaviorist, or just somebody who likes dogs and likes to take them for a walk. I mean, there's volunteer opportunities down there as well.
So Councilman does have to go in about 5 minutes. He has a 1 o'clock, 1:05 meeting. So I do want to wrap up shortly and thank Councilman for giving us his time. But I guess I have two more questions, but one question is really, we talked about the path to your seat, and different people take different paths, and we have successful people in your seat and not so successful. What does it take once you're in the seat to be successful? Like, what type of skills are important for students or people looking to go into a career field of government politics? What is it they need to work on and be good at in order to be successful?
Definitely patience. You definitely need patience. You need the ability and willingness to compromise. I think that, especially here in the town of Hempstead, it's a very diverse town, and the board represents different people. And I think that you have to be willing to work with those representatives, whether they are of the same political beliefs of you as or not, to make sure you do what's right. So I think making sure you can compromise, making sure you have patience. And unfortunately, social media and instant access has done so much for our world. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing now if we didn't have the ability of social media and people logging on here. But there's also a downside to social media. There's many people who say, very, very nasty and vile things because they're sitting behind a keyboard. So I think one of the things that unfortunately you need in this business is thick skin, and you need to have a family who understands that people are going to say some not so nice things about you, and you kind of have to have the ability to kind of shrug it off your shoulders, because it's sad, but there's a lot of people out there. I think, every vote that you make, you're making some people happy and you're making others unhappy. So you have to realize that you're not going to make everyone happy, and you have to have, the hope that you can kind of bring people together for the best interest of everybody that we serve. You're not always victorious at that, but you got to try your best.
Great. And just for our students, what kind of advice and recommendations or suggestions would you have for our middle level or high school students, who are pursuing life after high school, right? Just overall, like, what kind of advice or recommendation would you provide them to help them kind of like find their path?
So I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. You should really go to college and study and be a part of things that make you happy, that things that you really want to do. I mean, what's that?
Who's frozen?
I think it's the councilman again. I think his Wi-Fi is not that great over there. Okay, so we are going to wrap up shortly. If Councilman comes in, I'm going to let him finish the comment, but I know he does have to go. I just want to give two quick shout outs. One to Ms. Stecklow, our counselor. She's with us all the time.
Who is Dr. W, Paul?
That's Dr. Weisenweeder. She is one of our psychologists at the high school.
Got it.
And also Dr. Zirianis, thank you for being with us. She does her book reads every morning, and it's a great time if you get a chance to check it out. Councilman, do you want to finish your thought, or do you have to run?
No, listen, I just want to say thank you all for having me. I hope that everyone who's listening or watches this stays healthy. Realize that these are definitely trying times, but we'll all get through this as long as we stick together. And as things progress, if you need someone to jump on here, again, I'm happy to join you. And if anybody who's listening or watches this has any concerns with what's going on, or just general government in general, my office, we're still manning the phones here. You can 1-6-812-3242. I'm on all the social media applications, so you can hit me up there. And just stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you, doing the great education in Oceanside, even in these trying times. Job well done.
Councilman, can I also just let you know, the middle school students, the high school students, even our elementary school students are home, and I know that many of them have reached out asking if there's anything they could do to help. So if you have any ideas or ways in which our students can help you, whether it's a social media message or, collecting a certain item, if there's anything that you can think of, we have, 1,000 kids at the middle school and 2,000 at the high school that are willing to help. So, just let Mitch or I know if there's anything you could think of that our students could do to help you.
Absolutely, I will do. And same goes for you guys and the students. If the students can think of anything that I can do to help us get through this, let me know.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Just a reminder, tomorrow we have Robert Schulman from the Limcon Foundation. He's been working pretty extensively with our Project Extra students at the elementary level. He is a prosthetist, which is an interesting and great career. Wednesday, we have 2 physical therapists coming on. Thursday, we have, we had our teachers on. Thursday, we're going to have a focus on mental health providers within the school. So we're going to have a social worker, psychologist, and a counselor. And Friday, we have an aerospace mechanical engineer coming on. So that should also be an interesting one. So thank you, everyone. Have a good day. And Councilman, good luck in your press conference. Bye-bye.
Guys, be good.
Take care.